Yeah, we always manage to get some gold in between times, don't we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we're so hilarious.
We're funny people! Isn't that funny? Okay. I suppose I should probably,
Do you want to give us an intro?
I should probably shoot the show, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Alright. Welcome back to Bottle Bottom with Paddy, the only internet cocktail show that takes you more time to watch than it took me to write. Now with live studio audience coming at you from the kitchen. As usual, I am your host, Paddy. I live mostly on the internet, apparently, so you can find my voice at liberationindustries.net, but I'm also doing this show. Tonight, I realized that, as often happens, I said I'd do a thing on the internet, so now I have to. I said that I have mocktails on the channel, and I realized that I actually need to make it a plural, having only done one so far. So, I am dipping back into my past as an actual barman, not just a guy who sits for hours watching wine, to bring to you my, I suppose, trademark mocktail.
What are the rules of Bottle Bottom, Pat?
Thank you for reminding me, Josh. Here at Bottle Bottom we have two rules. The first is
Hand was too tall.
Alright.
Remember, you can only bring it up to about there.
Here at Bottle Bottom we have two rules. The first, I am not allowed to buy more booze. That's not going to be very important for this episode. This is a mocktail episode, so what can we do? The second episode is...
What is the second rule?
There is no second rule.
There is no second rule.
The second rule is reread the first
Yeah. Just keep on...
So keep on trucking.
It's drink the drink, no matter how it turns out.
Yep. So, like I said, mocktail episode. The Brain in a Jar is a rather significant name. In fact, we have the trope namer here. We have the cocktail namer in the studio audience tonight. Liz, say hi.
Oh, hello.
Liz was the one who named the Brain in the Jar, though she didn't realise she was doing it at the time. It was a joke at the expense of this mocktail that I put together, but it is a very nice drink, even if it does have a really intriguing look. Oh, I've done it again. Time for some TV magic, folks.
Things mysteriously appear.
It's like, oh wow, the bottles have changed. Isn't this magic crazy? How are we doing magic, Josh?
Yeah.
Oh, it's physical violence, Josh, tonight. Alright. Who even knows? What take is this?
What are we making today, Pat?
Alrighty folks, tonight we're bringing you one of my trademark mocktails, the Brain in a Jar. So, for those of you who are not in the mood to drink, but have some bits and pieces lying around the house, this one I don't think is too extravagant, but there's a few sort of specific bits that you're going to need to make it work. Now, the bit that gives the drink its name is these little fellas. Lychees. They've got to be the canned ones. Now, there's sort of two reasons for that. They give you this lovely syrup, which is going to be a fairly substantial piece of the drink. This is a tricky bit, and I don't want to do a repeat of the condensed milk incident. But yeah, we just get a little bit of the syrup in the bottom. The other reason to use the canned lychees rather than like fresh ones is they're just really hard to peel, and frankly this mocktail is enough work as it is. So just get your lychee in a glass. I used to use champagne flutes, but we don't have any of those kicking around, so in the Bottle Bottom spirit, I just used these glasses that we did have.
Spirits, I get it.
Hey! This episode is not helping us in our quest at all. It's like, I'm not getting rid of any
What have you
alcohol.
done?
It's like, oh, the whole thing's falling apart. Really, this is just me covering myself legally, saying I don't only do alcoholic things. So, like we encountered dealing with mocktails before, you've got to give it something to give it a bit of sharpness and a bit of body. I'm using lemon juice once again, so that should play nicely with the sort of soft sweetness that we get off the lychee syrup. Just call it a measure of that. And once again, the suspicious fluid makes its triumphant return to Bottle Bottom. Now, I'm going to be a bit more specific with what's actually in this jar this time, because it's a bit more important to the success of the recipe. Now, it is a simple syrup infused with parsley and lemon. So, when I was cooking this up, you're sort of looking at maybe 1 cup sugar, half a cup water, and then just a bunch of lemon wedges, dash of lemon juice, and a fistful of parsley. You let that steep, and it's going to give it a bit more of an interesting bit more of an interesting flavour there. So we'll call it a half measure of that, because we don't want to overdo that in sugar terms, as the lychee is already providing a bit of sweetness. Plant that back there. So what we got here is, well, it's going to be a bit sharp. So we're going to want to stretch it. Soda water makes its return. Get that drink to be a little bit taller, and if it's spritzy, it feels a little more fun, doesn't it? A bit more energetic. And with that in place, it's nice, but it's not really very visually interesting, isn't it? The whole thing's one colour block with this little ball floating at the bottom. My nemesis returns. It knows what it did. The grenadine, very carefully poured into the spoon. Because that's the other mantra, that's the actual second rule, you always measure grenadine in drops. Just got a little bar spoon here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it on in. Now this is one of those things where you don't actually want to mix it too well. If you get it right, you're going to get a lovely sort of sunset layering effect going on. Or if we're feeling more sci-fi, in line with the name of the drink, this could be the brain's special preservation fluid. I sure have a way of making drinks appealing now, don't I, folks? So, there, simple as can be. The brain in a jar, my own trademark mocktail. The lychee still sitting happily at the bottom of there, so nuts and bolts, lychee and syrup down the bottom, measure of lemon juice, half measure of simple syrup, top with soda water to give it a bit of life, and then a gentle spoon of grenadine to give it that lovely vibrant colour.
Where did the brain in the jar first make its debut?
The brain in a jar got its start at Absinthia, which was the foremost absinthe bar in Melbourne. I used to work there. I was asked one night to pull together a special, I believe it was for a wedding, a special mocktail for a wedding where the bride at least was a teetotaler. And I was left with the usual bits and pieces that I had lying around the bar. There wasn't much to work with. I had lemon juice from other cocktails, I had soda, and I think the canned lychees were the only thing that I was able to grab on short notice. So it's like, oh, here we go, in it goes, and the grenadine was the last minute puff. It got oddly popular with people who wanted a bit of gin in it as well, so if you want the alcoholic version, we did have a great deal of success using ink gin, which is a butterfly pea blossom coloured gin.
Ooh, got some.
Which we might have as a stomach gin. If we do, there's very little of it left.
Yeah, you can at least show it off.
Yeah, which I can now summon using my magical skills. The ink gin. So yeah, it became quite popular. If you wanted to make this one alcoholic, you can just add a measure of gin to it. Any
botanical gin.
Yeah, any sort of nice, relatively laid-back botanical gin is going to sit just fine with that. If you go for one that's too dry, it's probably going to overpower the soda and you're just going to taste like a gin and tonic anyway. But yeah, the ink has this, though you probably can't see it very well from that distance, lovely blue colour that as you add acid turns to a sort of gentle pink. There's not a whole lot of acid in this one except from the lemon juice, so it tended to give it a lovely rich purple. But yeah, so if you want to boozy this one up, you absolutely can. Don't let me tell you not to do that.
I want to see you drink the drink.
Oh yeah.
How does it taste, Pat?
It's like, I'm sure I'm lucky to have such a wonderful production team. Magic Josh, you've been absolutely great. At some point I'm going to have to drink the drink.
Yeah, you will. I want to hear how it is.
So, lovely layering. It's going to concentrate the sweetness a little towards the bottom, but...
For a man who loves his whiskey, how's that sweet drink?
It is a very sweet drink compared to my usual palate. But the lemon and the lychee do give it a nice little dry edge. Which is, that's what gives it the complexity ultimately. The infusion in the simple syrup stops it just being a sort of straight up sugary sensory assault. So for a relatively light palate, you're getting a good amount of complexity. It's got enough layers that you don't think it's like, oh, okay, I'm just drinking a sort of sweet summer soda. The lychee doesn't give it a huge amount of flavour, I don't think. but it does make it look very interesting.
But you could add more lychee syrup.
I could add more syrup. Well, look, Magic Josh, you're telling me to do a lot of things. Let's see what you think of the brain in a jar.
Ooh, more lemony than I anticipated. That's good. Yeah.
Gives it a bit of life. So, yeah, we've seen my studio audience. Do you want to drink some of the brain in a jar?
I named it once, I don't need it again.
Fair enough. Yeah, it does have a good dry edge. You find my sort of defaulting to lemon juice and simple syrup to make mocktails fairly regularly, but it is a flexible combo. I use it because it works. So for the times when you're not drinking... So if you do want a nice, dry, sharp mocktail to have in the upcoming Halloween season, brain in a jar. Pretty hard to go wrong. You could even crush it a little for maximum horror effect.
Down a slightly bit. Little up, down.
Oh, my knees!
There we go. Squats for mocktails.
Squats for mocktails!